All right, folks, my apologies. A lot of people use this room and sometimes we're not all coordinated.
Good. All right, at this time, we will call the November 28th, 2022 meeting to order. Quick roll call. Supervisor Day.
Here.
Supervisor Ayers.
Here.
Supervisor Lyons.
Here.
Supervisor McDaniel is here and Supervisor Lewis is absent. We will now have a prayer for the board followed by a pledge of allegiance. Those attending are not required to participate, but if you'd like to join us, please stand.
Lord, as we come into the Christmas season and the end of the year, we ask that we will be ever so mindful to be thankful and appreciate the blessings that has been bestowed upon us. And now as we meet as the Rockbridge County Board of Supervisors, we pray that you will guide us in the decisions that we make that they will be the best for the county. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will hold citizen comments near the beginning of the meeting, and we'll do our best to take citizen comment remotely. There are two options for citizens to offer comment. To join by telephone, you may dial into one of the numbers listed on the county website. The webinar ID and password are there for your convenience. Citizens wishing to simply view the meeting live or after the fact can do so on the Rockbridge County Board of Supervisors YouTube channel, also available on the county website. If you wish to make a citizen comment as a Zoom meeting participant, you will use the raise your hand feature. You can press raise your hand button at the bottom of the Zoom window or press *9 if you're calling in by telephone. This time, are there any changes to the agenda?
I have none.
Any recognitions or presentations tonight?
No, sir.
All right, citizen comments. Anyone signed up to speak? Okay. Anyone present didn't have an opportunity to sign up, wishing to address the board? Okay. All right. Approval of the minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the 11/15/2022 minutes? Any questions, comments, concerns?
Move to approve as presented.
All right, second. All right. Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Ms. Ayers?
Yes.
And chair votes yes as well. Next, we have a consideration of school appropriation resolution. Mr. Harrison?
Yes, sir. The schools have a total request for new grant appropriations in the amount of $275,251. Carryover grants of $1,984,921. So total Fund 50 appropriations of $2,260,172. For Fund 56, which is a school cafeteria fund, they have new grants in amount of $23,000. And for Fund 70, which is a school construction fund, they have a carryover grant in amount of $810,724. So total appropriations is $3,093,896.
Any questions, comments, concerns? Is there a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
All right. Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Ms. Ayers?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
And chair votes yes as well. All right, let's see here. Next up, we have the reassessment update from Wingate and Associates. I believe Mr. Suter and Mr. Whites will help with this.
Yeah. As you know, the county is on a 6-year reassessment cycle, real estate reassessment cycle. And in 2021, we issued an RFP for third-party reassessment services, and Wingate and Associates, the same firm that did our last reassessment, won the contract. Since that time, they visited properties in the county and recently completed their work, or at least the biggest part of it. So their initial real estate valuation notices were sent to the printer on November 15th. I've not seen mine yet, but I know they went to the printer. The next steps in the process is to schedule initial hearings with the assessors, Wingate and Associates. And basically, if the property owner doesn't agree with the third-party assessor's valuation of property, they have the opportunity to schedule a time with the assessor to discuss it. These meetings will take place in this room over I believe the second and third week in December, I believe is our schedule. If there's still disagreement after that discussion, the next step would be for the owner to schedule a hearing with the Board of Equalization, and the members of the BOE, which you appointed earlier, will undergo required training in December in anticipation of those meetings early next year. Ultimately, during the budget process this spring, the board will need to consider the overall change in real estate valuation and determine what steps are necessary to equalize the tax rate. And again, you mentioned Commissioner Weitzel. He's with us here this evening. President of Wingate, Don Thomas, is here with us, and also lead assessor Skip Willett. I believe I saw him come into the room as well, to give you a brief update and answer any questions you might have. Over to you.
Thank you, Spencer. And Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I want to express our appreciation as our firm has been chosen again to do your reassessment. And we're pleased to be in a position to be near the completion. And we, as Spencer said, we have our notice data and the proper forms to our printer. We outsource that, and our printer tells us that barring anything breaking down or half his workforce coming in sick or not coming in because they're sick, they're going to get those notices in the mail tomorrow. So we can expect in a couple of days, some of those notices will be hitting post office boxes and some rural delivery. So we are prepared to start receiving phone calls, and we've also set about setting up some web tools for property owners and our notice does go into the description on how a property owner can access web materials such as listings. Therefore, that if you want to compare your assessment to other properties, there'll be listings available. There'll be a link to a service that actually houses all the particular data, such as square footage of buildings and that sort of thing. That sort of link will be available to property owners. And also something that we've been trying to do a little bit more of as the markets are doing what they're doing. We've been trying to develop GIS, we're coordinating with GIS departments in the counties and developing a layer whereby property owners can look at the GIS application and see property sales relative to their property, and it helps say, well, you know, what are these assessors looking at? What are they depending on for value benchmarks? So this kind of gives the property owner another tool to use to evaluate what's going on in their particular neighborhood. So these things are supposed to all come together, and we plan to have that ready to roll out by Wednesday of this week on the website. And so those are coming together nicely. We've been in contact with not only the GIS department, but the IT department here, and we're coordinating that so that it might come together. So that's what you can expect from the notice, which shows the proposed value and also shows the previous two values. It also gives a schedule, the dates that we will have hearings set up for folks to come in, like Spencer mentioned, to come in, and if they have questions or if they want to protest their assessment, we'll be able to receive those folks at that time. And we're also going to have an online appeal form for those that might not choose to make the trip in. They might want to go to an online to the website and register their appeal on a form and submit it to us via email. So those things are available, and so we don't want anyone to go through this process without the opportunity to be heard if they have a grievance about their assessment. You know, we would like to think that we would be able to do all these assessments with 100% accuracy, but we just know when you do a mass appraisal process like this, that's just not possible. So that's why they have the hearings, is for us to iron out these problems should they exist. So if you as board members happen to get calls, or administration happens to get calls, funnel them to us. That's what we're here for. We're here to help facilitate that process. So anyway, I have very little else to offer at this moment, but I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions from the board? Any concerns? Comments? I appreciate your assistance with this process, and I think it's just important that the citizens realize that there is a process for airing their grievance, and be happy to hear every citizen's comment. And the board will also go through the equalization process with the tax rate. So there's still more to come on that. So,
Sure.
any other comments? Mr. Suter, Mr. White, you have anything?
No.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Next up, we have the consideration of the Modine Performance Agreement. I believe Ms. Flint's going to present this to us.
Chairman, members of the board, thank you for your time tonight. Included in your package from Modine Manufacturing is a request to amend their performance agreement dated February 24th, 2021 between the county, the EDA, and Modine in reference to their incentives that were provided to them for the conversion of their Collierstown warehouse into a manufacturing facility. The performance-based incentive package included a $30,000 gas infrastructure improvement grant that Modine is requesting be transferred to their building permit fee grant. The gas infrastructure improvements originally proposed exceeded the costs that they had originally projected. Therefore, they decided to go with an LP tank instead. They're asking that the $30,000 be transferred to the building permit fee grant, which will make that a total of $38,467, which is well below the over $51,000 they've now paid in building permit fees. Tommy Johnson, the plant manager, was unable to be here tonight, but he did ask me to thank you for your time and consideration in this matter, and he provided me an email update. So I'm just going to read from his email. First, he wanted to say that he really appreciates the support and the flexibility from the county he has received. Second, he wants you to know that they have 66 salary employees, can't talk today, 12 salary for a total of 78. They're going to go through another hiring round, which will be another 30 employees hired, and that'll be by March 2023. They will go through a fourth round of hiring by October, November of 2023, and that will put them at well over 120 to 130 employees at that time, which exceeds the 60 that we originally had as part of this agreement. He would also like you to know that management is forecasting expansion opportunities. Therefore, there'll be some discussion on that and the potential for them to go up to 250 employees. Actual sales are in a backlog right now to 2024. So they are extremely active with those new units. It is now the headquarters for the Modine Chiller Systems, their Adele Systems. Their R&D test building will be completed by December, which anchors Modine in this building location. Last but not least, he just wanted to let you know that they are considering expansion opportunities and will provide updates as they have an opportunity to do so. And thank you for your time. And I will take any questions.
Any questions from the board? Any comments? Hearing the request, is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
And second?
No, a second.
All right. Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Ms. Ayers?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
And Chair votes yes as well. Thank you, Ms. Flint. Next up, we have consideration to schedule a public hearing on code amendment to change E&S land disturbance fees. Mr. Suter?
Yes, in 2013, the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality revised erosion and sediment control regulations, and localities at that time were given an option of having DEQ continue to administer that program. But like most counties, Rockbridge opted to administer locally so as to have more control over the speed of the review and approval process. On smaller projects, the review is still handled in-house by County E&S Stormwater Administrator Jonathan Griffin, who's with us this evening. A review of larger, typically commercial projects, which requires more detailed review by a licensed engineer, are contracted out to the firm A. Morton Thomas, AMT, whose services were obtained via the county standard procurement process at that time. So in 2014, the county adopted a fee schedule recommended initially by DEQ as a starting point for localities for the different types of reviews. And the county's objective has always been to only pass on the cost incurred in the plan review and monitoring and not to profit from those fees. However, as costs increase, staff provides as costs increase over time, staff provides a recommendation to the board to similarly increase the fee schedules. And the last time this occurred was in 2019. And recently, after a competitive procurement process, the county renewed its contract with AMT. Pricing for the external plan reviews increased with that new contract, as have most costs. In order to maintain the effort to essentially maintain a cost neutral scenario, we're recommending a commensurate increase in the fees associated with the program. Similarly, while considering an update to the code, we recommend upwardly adjusting the fees for in-house plan reviews for single family dwellings and small construction projects. And speaking of that, finally, after a number of years administering the program, or I say finally, finally, after a number of years administering the program, Mr. Griffin has encountered multiple situations where some smaller projects, which are not single family dwellings, could have been reviewed in-house without sending them out. The result would be a lower fee for the applicant. So right now it's $1,000. He's suggesting doing those in-house and lowering the fee to $500, which would save the applicant $500. A schedule of and those are for things such as access roads, barn pads, land clearing, and agricultural ponds. A schedule of the existing and proposed fees is attached, as well as the code section with recommended changes, as they are outlined in county code, and ordinance is required to change this, so a public hearing would be required. And our request is that the board consider authorizing staff to advertise public hearing for December. That's a mouthful. So do you have any questions of me?
Yeah, any questions?
Or Mr. Griffin?
Comments?
So you're going to advertise at the proposed rates here, at the proposed.
Yes. The question was if we are going to advertise proposed rates, and yes.
So I'm seeing only increases here. You just mentioned that there would, some would be actually less expensive.
No, there is a new one. That is previously the small construction, anything other than a single family dwelling, which is a letter in lieu of, is what it's called. Those would go to A. Morton Thomas. So rather than having those small constructions that Mr. Griffin believes he can quite easily do in-house, rather than sending those off, there'd be a new fee that would be $500, which is $500 less than sending it out.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry, I understand. So the way that would work, then we would always have the right, if they're advertised this rate, to lower it, but not to have it any higher.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So, good. No. Thank you.
And these are just designed to match up with the increases that we saw with the renewed contract with AMT.
Just passing the cost along,
It is.
not for profit. Is there a motion to set a public hearing for December meeting?
Yes.
Two public hearings. We have two ordinances. One is for stormwater management fees. The other is for erosion and sediment control fees.
Do you need separate discussion and vote on, or can you do both?
You can do both, just
Okay.
so it includes authorizing both.
Authorizing two public hearings.
Yes.
And is there a second?
Second.
All right. Ms. Ayers,
Yes.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
And Chair votes yes as well. Next up, we have the presentation by the Virginia Horse Center. I'm not sure if Mr. Shooter's will speak to this. or-
I'll kick it off. So recently, the Virginia Horse Center CEO Glenn Petty, who's with us tonight, and also CFO Sandra Thomas, who's with us, and Sandra has been with this process from the very beginning. They approached Lexington manager Jim Hallett and myself to discuss the potential to extend the current 1% additional occupancy tax dedication, which was codified for collection in 2014, and memorialized via separate performance agreements between the Board of Supervisors, EDA, and the Virginia Horse Center on the county side, and between the city of Lexington and the Virginia Horse Center on the city side. And attached in the package is the original performance agreement between the Virginia Horse Center, the Board of Supervisors, and EDA. And again, it provides for 1% additional occupancy tax to support capital maintenance at the Virginia Horse Center. and a similar document was adopted by Lexington. Both were extended twice, first in 2015 and then again in 2016. And the most recent extension carries it out through 2024. And lastly, and related to the most recent extension, the Virginia Horse Center entered into an agreement or an assignment of tax distribution in August of 2018 with Cornerstone Bank to assign their tax distribution under performance agreement to secure and pay their debt to Cornerstone Bank for the borrowed capital maintenance funds. That's how it was done. They had to borrow some funds, and they're using the 1% to pay those monies back on that loan. The county pays any distributions that the Virginia Horse Center would receive as part of the agreement directly into a Cornerstone account. So the 1% goes right into a Cornerstone account to pay for that loan. This arrangement would be impacted if the performance agreement is not extended. So getting back to their request, the Virginia Horse Center's been reviewing its long-range plans and has consulted with its lender, Cornerstone Bank, regarding the $1.5 million capital maintenance loan, which balloons in 2026. It's requested consideration for the city and the county to extend the performance agreements until 2029, and that would allow refinancing and flattening of the current debt service schedule. In your package is a more detailed written request that I believe Ms. Thomas drafted, along with a comparison of existing debt service payments and the contemplated revised schedule should the county and the city agree to modify and extend the performance agreements. It also lists the Virginia Horse Center's other long-term debt, the USDA loan, largely serviced by the original 2% occupancy tax enabled by special legislation in the mid-2000s. And also included as a table detailing revenues since 2016 for all 3 percentage points. The 2% broken out, that's by special legislation, and the additional 1% that the county authorized. As noted, they're bringing the proactive request forward well in advance of the requirement listed in the performance agreement currently in force, which would be, I believe, several months prior to the ballooning of the note in 2024. So each time that this topic has come up in the past, it's important to note that two facts have been stressed. Number one, the revenues going to the Virginia Horse Center debt are not general fund revenues. They're from the transient occupancy taxes, largely borne by just that, transients or non-residents, visitors to the area. The second thing is the additional 1% tax beyond the 2% enabled by special legislation can only be used for, and I quote, tourism-related activities. It's important to note that any extension of the 1% on the county side would also need to be approved by the EDA. Ms. Flint did mention it to the EDA at their last meeting last Monday, that we would be coming to the board. And it's always a chicken or the egg. We got to get to one of you first. So somebody's always got to go first. So we did mention it there. And as noted, the Virginia Horse Center will be making the same request to the city of Lexington, as its contribution of their 1% is important to this as well in the overall formula. If the extension of the agreement is to be granted, it may make sense for them to take the opportunity to further modify certain language in the existing agreement, such as the requirement to annually present progress on capital projects made possible through the loan. And as all the capital projects have been completed already, it's kind of superfluous to keep reporting the same thing when the projects are done and we're just paying the loan off. Though the board and the EDA might at least want an annual update on the same time frame. And as I noted, Mr. Petty and Ms. Thomas are with us to discuss further with the board, answer any questions that you may have. And I guess with that, I'll just turn it over to you folks. Unless there are any questions of me on the upfront.
We'll hear their presentation. Mr. Petty.
Thanks, Mr. Suter. And I think that Spencer outlined everything very well. So what I'm going to do, one of the things that I understand from the EDA meeting, there was, they wanted a current events list, and I have brought this with me to share with the board. we have come back very strong after the pandemic. And then the very interesting thing is that in 2021, after the pandemic, the largest year we ever had was 44,000 stall nights. We charged by the night. After the pandemic, we came back strong and had 54,777 stall nights. On the events list, we've got a mixture of events. In addition to the normal horse events, we have a BMX race, and that brings large numbers of, well, they had 1,139 kids that participated, and they came from 39 states. So the Horse Center is happy to help support tourism in the area. And not only tourism, but also we have the mezzanine where you're familiar with, that we like to call ourselves a community horse center, not just the Virginia Horse Center. The other thing that the EDA had a question on was the horse trials and the status on that. We're in the midst of a transition. Virginia Horse Trials had been with us for a number of years, and before that, Brian Ross. And when the contract was renewed, we met several times and tried to get together, and we were just too far apart. So going forward, the Virginia Horse Center will operate the horse trials just like we do some of our other events that are, we're the promoter. Some of the citizens in the area have been concerned that the jumps have disappeared, and there's a rumor that Dominion Energy has bought Oak Hill, and they're going to put solar panels all over. That is not true. Dominion Energy is going across the property now and burying a overhead power line, and that's, I think, where that was started. But we have new jumps that will be probably 7 semi-loads coming in next week from Florida. And we'll have other jumps that aren't in that order that we have will be built this winter. So the horse trials are not going away. The other thing that I'll just throw out, we're always working on a projects list. And currently, we have just done a 10-year projects list. And when we totaled the bottom, it was $12 million. Our operating budget is about $5 million a year. So the Horse Center is 37 years old, and we're trying to take care of it. I'm happy to answer any questions. Oh, let me say one thing that I thought was out of our $5 million operating budget, 17% is payroll. So,
Mr. Petty,
yes,
this is your current year schedule?
I thought it was 2023, and when I printed it and looked at it when I was giving it to you, it looks like it's 2022, or the top didn't get changed.
But this is the coming year, not the current year, or is this the current year?
Based on what the top says, I think it is the 2022. But we're in the process of signing contracts for all of 2023 now, and most of those events are going to be back. That's the one thing about the Horse Center. We have consistency year to year. We do have the U.S. Pony Club National Championship that wants to book with us in 2025. So a lot of events that jump around like that, you book well in advance.
Do you typically not have events in December?
I'm sorry?
You typically don't have events in December?
We have 100 jumper show. And that's the reason that in January and February, we have non-events like Monster Truck Wars, and the BMX races, dog shows, because the weather is a little unpredictable, or can be for hauling horses. I'm happy I have Sandra who knows the numbers, and if there are any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Any other questions? We certainly appreciate all the Horse Center does for the area and the community, and look forward to continued partnership. Would like to have your 2023 schedule.
I'll
once you get
Take
it
care of
completed.
that in the morning.
Yeah, and as far as the annual information, I'm not sure what Mr. Suter was really looking for. I mean, I understand projects have already been done, but maybe just a general annual operations update, you know, how things are going and everything would be suitable for the board, just to.
Yeah, what I was getting at is the language in the performance agreement, it very specifically spells out an update on each one of the capital projects that is associated with that 1%. So the way it worked was there was a $1.5 million borrowing that paid for those projects. Those projects are all complete, and they were completed, I believe, within the first 2 years of that loan. So now it's, if we're going by the letter, you could be getting the same report every year. And so I know you don't want that. So, but it would be, I think, beneficial for the board of supervisors to get exactly what you say, an annual report. These are ups, these are downs, these are our new things. These are our new projects. These are what our donors are doing, specialized projects, that type of thing, just to make sure that both you and the EDA stay in that loop.
I do think it's helpful for our citizens, though, to realize what we're paying, what the 1% is going for. I mean, while it is dead, it's still being paid. I don't mind hearing review of those things, or at least seeing it, you know, written, a short one, for sure. So.
Well, my point is I can get you that list and we can put it out, but it's going to be the same list every year.
No, I understand. I understand.
Thank you. Mr. Gray.
And so I guess the question is whether or not there's consensus for support to direct staff to return to the board with a modified agreement for extension or consideration of extension and a revised tax assignment agreement. Another option is, if you're not ready to have consensus on that, you could wait and ask for more information. It's obviously the board's pleasure on that.
So the request is a 5-year extension, right? From
Yes.
2024 to 2029.
Yes.
Does the action of the city of Lexington affect this, our decision?
That depends on the board and the EDA. I would, in the past, it was subject to agreement, you know, that the county's approval was subject to similar approval by the city of Lexington. I'm pretty sure that was the case in the past. Is that right, Peggy? And I feel as though the city, I can't speak for them, but I feel that as though they're supportive and they've seen the benefit that the Virginia Horse Center brings to our area.
And the EDA hasn't made a decision on it yet.
No, they've not been given this presentation. Again, not all this information was available last Monday. And so we didn't have as much to present, but now we've got the information. So you just happened to fall that you all were first.
Well, I'd feel more comfortable with a recommendation from the EDA before.
But you're not asking for approval, right?
No.
You're just asking
To move forward.
You don't have
bring
anything
us
to approve.
information.
Yes, what we could do is we could draft, make the track changes to the existing agreements, 2 of them, and do those for, you know, it's the same document for the EDA. And is Brandy still here? When's the EDA's next meeting? Okay, so put you on the spot, sir. So December 21st, we could, have the same 19th, you'd have same information for the EDA.
And then we typically do not have a second meeting in December. So once the EDA would come back to it, we could visit it during our first January meeting.
Certainly.
I mean, I understand what Ms. Ayers is saying about the recommendation from the EDA. I feel like what you're looking for from us is just direction, and I believe our direction would be to move forward, provide the information to the EDA, subject to the EDA approving and City of Lexington approving. We would revisit it at our first January meeting.
Sure. This is just the opening salvo on it, and we can certainly bring this stuff back. And when we bring it back, I'll have basically the same information, but I won't rehash it for you all but so much since you've already heard it.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Anything
Thank
else
you.
you need from us on that
I
matter?
don't think so.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have emergency medical services discussion. Chief Ramsey, I believe you're going to lead this.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As you have in your agenda, I'll just kind of go through the agenda that was provided. Been discussing strategic planning for some time now, and recently a specific EMS response issue in the southern portion of the county reached a point where staff, public safety committee feel a more immediate discussion by the board is necessary, hence where we are tonight. And just kind of give you a little background. In 2014, we started with contract EMS service in Glasgow, Fairfield. And then in 2018, we transitioned to county staff at those two stations, Glasgow and Fairfield Rescue, from 6A to 6P, 7 days a week. And then a year following that, we transitioned to daylight staff at the Cards Creek Fire Department, with the primary focus of EMS response. And then the nighttime response at these three locations have been primarily volunteer responsibility, and have done a great job. And then just kind of looking back, we received a couple of letters. The most recent from Glasgow First Aid Crew in August of 2020, expressing or letting the board know that the low number of active volunteers consisted of their failure to respond rate to be at around 33% at that particular time, which we then met with them. And they had an official request at that time to have 24-hour staffing. And then some discussions with membership. They elected to rescind that on the day of the meeting. So we actually continued to monitor the response rates for some time after that. And things went well. Currently, we've been monitoring as we do. We send you the reports for every agency monthly. But with the first aid crew, Glasgow First Aid Crew, over the past several months, the fail to respond rate at nighttime has been going up to where it's an average around 30%. Nighttime from the hours of 6P to 6A, and that's pretty much a 6-month average of that. And one of the things that we've done to kind of mitigate that some is, let me back up a little bit. With about 100% of the time for the calls, whether they were getting out or not, next due was added to those responses. At the 8-minute mark. That's one of the things that we had looked at as well, and which caused the ripple effect throughout, the responding next due agencies. primarily Buena Vista Rescue Squad. And then secondly, Lexington EMS is also responding to that. And while meeting with the executive committee of the rescue squad a few weeks back, I presented the FTR data and asked for consideration of 24-hour staffing. If they considered that, at the time they had not. And then at their business meeting and working with and talking with the president of the squad, they were not in favor of additional career staffing, that they would put a plan in place to rely more heavily on the volunteer fire departments of that Glasgow Fire Department and Natural Bridge Fire Department. At that particular time, and that's kind of where we are now, one of the things that was a concern in 2020 was sleeping quarters, which the squad has continued with those construction, and that part is completed at the squad building at this time. With the concern of the increased response rate, a response time, with the failure to respond rate and the increased dispatch to on scene time, we have initiated we actually have in place now automatic next due agency being dispatched automatically instead of at the 8-minute mark. And that's been going on since probably for the last 2 weeks, probably second week in November, we started that. So the request for consideration is that the squad at their next business meeting would consider the 24-hour staffing if the board would allow or decide that, and then if not, we would respect those wishes as we have respect the legacy of the rescue squad and understand that, respect everyone at the rescue squad. But as the person responsible for the response and emergency services, I feel the need that we need to improve that a little bit in the South End. And if the squad would not wish to go with the 24-hour staffing model at their building, that we would move forward with staffing a 24-hour county ambulance in the South End somewhere to supplement those responses. And obviously that comes with staffing finding a place to house the ambulance. We currently have 2 older reserve ambulances, as you all know, and have approved us to update and maintain, which we appreciate. And they've been providing a great service to this point. And moving forward again for discussion, the kind of the options out there to get in front of you all is that if the squad would not elect to go with 24-hour staffing, that we would do the latter and staff a county ambulance in the South End of the county. Any questions so far?
Can you explain the failure to respond rate? Is that they never responded to the call, or is it their tones went off and it rolled over to another agency and that agency was dispatched? How does that factor into the percentage?
So
they may be late responding. They may not have got out on the first tone, but they got out and made it to the scene. Does that count or not?
So the way that's been approved for that, probably about 5 years now, that was presented by the Fire Rescue Commission, which I supported that as well when we initiated and the board approved the performance-based funding program. There's 3 tiers to that. There's the regular response from the initial dispatch of the call to 10 minutes. 10 to 16 minutes is a delayed response. And then after 16 minutes is considered a failure to respond. So a couple of things trigger that. So in one sense, Mr. McDaniel, you are correct that if they got out after the 16 minutes, it is considered a failure to respond. the dispatcher marks that in the CAD as a failure to respond, which where the report runs. But again, that's 16 minutes after the 911 call was made, to provide emergency services. So,
But today, November, what is the fail to respond at this current time?
So I don't have it right today from November 1 to this point today. When we ran the report for the agenda item, it was high 60%, 68%, I believe. And that was from November 1st to November 21st.
Their fail to respond is 60.
It was at that point. Yes, sir.
And it's my understanding that the squad has reached out to neighboring fire departments to ask for help with the calls. Have you received any information on that?
I just did as I walked into the meeting. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
And I know that was their plan. Is speaking with President Mayo several days ago, that he told me that's what their plan was. My concern with that is just like in 2020, that was the plan. It worked well for a short period. 2 years later, here we are again with delayed responses, extremely long on scene times or dispatch to on scene times, greater than 24 minutes. So that's kind of what prompted this discussion today.
Is there any other questions for Chief Ramsey? If it suits the board, since there have been some meetings and information has been updated recently in the last few days, I'd like to give the squad and fire department members a chance to address the board. Any of you that would like to come forward, please just state your name. And, I'm not sure if one person is speaking for everyone or if you have different things you'd like to address.
Jolette Williams, I'm captain at the Glasgow Life Saving Crew. I have this statement of request, and I think you each have a copy of it. And I'll just run down through this. The membership of Glasgow Life Saving Crew does not appreciate that President of Glasgow did not receive notification of this proposal being added to the agenda until Sunday, November 27th. A plan of action has been started, but due to the time constraint, portions are still in progress. The Glasgow Life Saving Crew at this time is asking that the board delay decision on the proposal being presented by the Rockbridge Fire Chief and allow Glasgow until the January board meeting to present report on our plan of action. The first portion of the plan will be implemented immediately, and you'll be presented with that as well. That is that the Glasgow Fire Department membership has committed to working alongside with the rescue membership to complete the staffing for the 7 night shifts a week starting at 6 p.m. We are confident that the committed teamwork of both agencies that calls will be answered in a timely manner. A December FTR report would be available at that January meeting to confirm the success of this partnership and meeting the needs of our community while working on getting the other steps of the plan of action in place. And I've included some of the things that are in development. The second part of the plan is allowing the ongoing discussion that has started to continue to occur with the town of Glasgow, Natural Bridge Fire Department, and the other resources for the improvement of services for the south end of the county. Number 3 is to develop a new recruitment and retention program to address the current needs of the volunteer population. The 4th, we are awaiting quotes from Virginia Certified Education Coordinators for Glasgow to implement their own education system, support the need in the south end for additional OEMS certified personnel, due to the lack of successful completion of trainees within the county education program provided. And the fifth included here is reviewing the data and other sources to ensure to have all the information available to implement a successful plan. So again, we just are requesting that the board will allow this delay in decision and allow us to report back in January with our plan of action. Additionally, with the first part of the plan that is immediately being implemented, we would like to request that the initial toning of second due to be dropped during this time, as Glasgow Fire and Rescue volunteers will be working together to answer those calls.
Ms. Williams, may I just ask you, with the Glasgow Fire Department offering the drivers, when does that start?
It will start immediately.
Start tonight? I mean, is it,
They have 16 committed personnel to fill in wherever we have a hole. Now, tonight, we do have a full Glasgow crew. And as a note, through the whole Thanksgiving season, we had 2 crews on at Glasgow, Life-Saving Crew, just of Glasgow rescue members.
but it is immediate. I mean.
Yes, it's
are they
immediate. As
being
soon as that
toned?
first opening,
Or
my schedule is going to John Hill, and they will be filling in the blanks.
will they be toned along with Glasgow Rescue?
That, I believe, is in the proposal itself, but yes, they would like to be toned along with, so
Okay,
that we both can get out at the same time.
because that would make sense, because you don't
Right.
want to waste time.
Yeah, because you'll be waiting that 8 minutes if it had to,
Yes.
yes.
Any other questions from board members?
I have a couple.
Yes, go right ahead. Mr.
Ms. Williams, nice meeting. I was
Nice to meet
down
you.
and swore y'all in. You were on a call. I didn't get to meet you that. How many members do you have in Glasgow Rescue Squad?
Roughly 2025. Right now, we have 7 that are on schedule. So we do have a certified provider for each night.
So you're saying you have 7 active out of the 20?
7 active certified. Now, we do have additional 8 that have EBOC. And they work around amongst themselves with work schedules. Of course, the COVID years have proved a little difficult. And our problems are not unique. It's happening to agencies all across. So we're hoping this new teamwork effort on the south end will accomplish the goals that you're seeking.
Your information due to the county for the audit. Do you know when we will get that?
Roger is in communications with the auditors, and that treasurer would be more appropriate to answer that question. He has been keeping communication with them on when it needs to be in and be done. It's not been forgotten.
It's past due, my understanding.
We know it's past due. With COVID, everyone was hit, their businesses were hit, time was hit. One of our other proposals we're getting in place is hiring an actual accountant to take that duty off of one of the members. Because things are getting tighter and duties are getting more plentiful.
It needs to be turned in as soon as possible. And you understand you're not receiving an allotment
Yes, we do.
since it's delayed, and you will not receive an allotment until we receive it.
Yes, we understand
Okay.
that.
The one question I had to follow up to Mr. Day was, you say you have 20 to 25 members? Has
Yes.
there been some recent increase in membership? Because it seems like when I was there in September, it was a different number.
What happened is we continually have recruited young folk. I know after the first time here, we had 8 additional eager, ready to roll until they can't pass the test to be certified, and they get discouraged, they get disappointed, and then wonder if this was even for them. So we're losing them about as quick as we can recruit them due to the lack of certification.
And the 7 certified members, they're actively responding to calls?
1, 2, 3, 4. Yes.
I want to take partial responsibility for the short notice.
It's okay.
And I also want to thank you for your years, absolute years of service and your hard work.
Thank you.
And I realize you do quite a bit of that yourself. We helped urge this meeting because we feel that we're in crisis. and we're in crisis, and not only putting the responsibility on other agencies, which is causing a ripple effect and straining relationships. And we're at the
Right.
point where we need to move on and solve this problem. We would love to solve that problem with you. And I just want you to understand from this committee, we feel that our citizens must have dependable, reliable emergency services. And I know when you do that, you provide that, but the failed to response rate is not acceptable from our point of view. And we can't go further. We need to have this immediately solved. So that is one of the reasons why First Due is, for me, I need to ever go back to First Due again. I need to make sure for my own, I would feel terrible if someone didn't get the care that they needed, because we lifted that and we went back to not having the appropriate care. And we know there's a problem, and I don't think we can say to our community, we're going to go back to doing that the same way again. So for me, there used to be a plan. When we had this problem before, there was a plan, there was a schedule. We knew immediately if you did not have coverage, and that we rolled over. Is that correct? Yes. And I can't go back to not having that for our community. And so I just need to tell you, with the utmost respect for you and all that everyone has done, is that we need to solve it. We really do.
And we understand, we know the problem. Since I took over as captain, I was not captain during this whole COVID period. I wasn't even an officer. So I have torn apart the FDR report and broke it down to itty bitty bits. How many calls that BB actually had to answer because we didn't have them. And I even broke it down to the night of the week, so I could go address which crew was on duty that week to find out the problems. We have already solved some of those problems, such as the 6 to 8 p.m. We now have crews on 6 to 8 p.m. There are others that still, that's why we say we need more time to read some more of the data. I requested the remainder of the year before I was captain, and the county provided that to me today. So I need time to sit down and go through that and get the trends, get all those numbers out, working with Glasgow Fire and the town of Glasgow, Natural Bridge, and other agencies, getting that plan in place and bring back to you in January.
Right. Between now and January, I do not want to be responsible for having our citizens at risk and distressing our relationships.
This may be
I'm
where
not-
Patrick needs to step up, because there is a proposal as well. That is the immediate proposal.
Okay.
So I'll let Patrick take over there.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Patrick Stump. I'm Assistant Chief with Glasgow Fire. With us today, we have a joint proposal with EMS. Our introduction and overview is contained in this document. And our goals is to, the background issues that we have is the Glasgow Life Saving First Aid crew is making every effort to keep up with call volumes, but they need additional help. Reasons for this include increased call volumes and reduction in membership. The opportunity for us as Glasgow Fire Department has trained members available and willing to help. We have a lot of members that have been trained in the EMS field. A lot of us actually been EMTs or no longer EMTs, but we will work to try to get those back. A lot of members have committed to trying to get EMTs certifications. The options that we, explored are providing drivers and manpower for calls for Glasgow Life Saving First Aid crew. The other option we're going to explore is Glasgow Fire Department becoming a BLS agency. We will try to work on getting our EMS license to help out with the call volume.
Preferred solution is the Glasgow Volunteer Fire Department will provide drivers for the Glasgow Life Saving First Aid crew for their night calls. This will be on a set schedule. Glasgow Volunteer Fire Department members' sole responsibility will be to assist with driving for the assigned night call. The Glasgow Fire Department has 16 EVOC trained members willing to commit to night calls to help with the life-saving crew. Company Two Tones will be alerted at the same time as the first aid crew, ensuring a timely response. As Jolette said earlier, the Glasgow Life Saving First Aid crew have 7 providers that are available for night calls that are scheduled between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. They will also have providers to cover from 6 p. to 8 p. Glasgow Fire Department will pursue and obtain an EMS license for BLS services and host EMT and EMR classes in the Glasgow area. Projected benefits for the community will be double the amount of manpower to respond to the incidents, allowing providers to be on call every 7th night. The Glasgow Volunteer Fire Department drivers to be called on every 15th night. So we will have 1 member sign up for each night. And that with 16 members, that gives us every 2 weeks a person to have to sign up for a call night. It will be less strain on everybody. With the newly certified members of the Glasgow Volunteer Fire Department obtaining an EMS license, this would reassure the citizens of Glasgow that the fire department, primary fire district, and other areas served would receive basic emergency medical services in a timely and consistent manner. The cost, the Glasgow Life Saving crew would pay GVFD $50 per call when the provided part of the transport crew. The ongoing cost would come from a portion of the variable pay pool and would simply be diverted to GVFD as per the system formula. The VRRP pay per call would provide payment to the volunteers providing coverage. In summary, as the Virginia EMS rules and regulations continue to change, the Glasgow Volunteer Fire Department looks forward to working with the Glasgow Life Saving First Aid crew in reaching our goals and providing EMS care to our neighbors and community. We believe that all citizens of Rockbridge County should receive the best care possible. We thank you, Rockbridge County Board of Supervisors, for your consideration of this request. Are there any questions?
Any questions for the fire department?
Just a couple. So night call, you're gonna be taking from the station? Or are you gonna be toned up from home and have to go pick up the equipment?
Will we
How's
just-
that gonna work?
We will be just like any other volunteer. We respond from home, which a
Okay.
lot of us live in Glasgow area.
Right. So as far as the 8 minutes, is it, I guess when they're toned, the clock starts, correct? Is it, so they have, when does it stop before the second tone? If they're on the, do they have to get to the rescue squad and start the vehicle and head out the doors within 8 minutes? Is that?
The way it is currently is that 6 minutes is a response check. What that's called. 911 center comes over to the dispatch channel and has a response check. Then in 8 minutes, nobody's checked out.
But by checked out, that means actually,
But it's actually marked up responding.
actually in the vehicle on their way. My other question, I don't know who wants to answer. Is, so we're looking to get their own, I guess, teacher to run classes? Are we, how is that different from what the county's doing? Yeah.
I'm Lisa Rogers. I was captain of Glasgow Rescue Squad many years ago.
If-
Still a member.
Lisa, I'm sorry, you need to use the microphone there just so
Okay, sorry,
it's all right.
sorry.
No, you're fine.
So I'm still a member and I'm here tonight on two different reasons. One is that I'm on town council right now. I'm also a member of the Glasgow Rescue Squad. And we're just as concerned as you are about getting our calls answered to the citizens there. I've got family that live there. I've got a handicapped grandchild that lives there. So I have stepped up and said I would try to cover from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. because a lot of our volunteers work in Lexington and other places. It takes some time to get home. So they didn't really have to come on until 8 p.m. So I'm stepping up. I don't work. I'm within half a block from the squad building. So I'm able to get to the squad building and get a truck out of there. And with these gentlemen stepping up and helping me with drivers, we can do that. I guess I was a little caught off by not being notified about this meeting tonight. As part of town council, because I've called town council and our mayor, and nobody down there was notified about any of this going on. So I guess I want to say is that we're doing our very best to make sure the calls are answered. And with the help of these guys here stepping up, I was on the fire department for many years. So with them stepping up and helping us, I feel confident we can get these calls answered in a timely manner. And as far as the training, the last year and a half, we recruited 7 or 8 new members. We have sent them to EMT class here in the county. None of them passed it, none of them. And I think the fire department was in the same boat. They sent 7 members to the EMT class, 1 passed. So if you look at the outcome of how many people are actually passing these EMT classes that are being held in the county, it's 58%. We know constructors that are in Virginia that we've also been contacting. They're getting 100% pass rate. So what's the difference? So we're looking at some of the other instructors that have the 100% pass rate, bringing them in, paying for them ourselves in order to get these people and our new members trained and certified as EMTs. So that's not just the Glasgow problem. That's the whole county-wide problem. And I think you really need to look at that also. These people that are volunteering their time, they're not asking for a penny, but we need to get them trained. And if we send them to class and we can't get them trained, what do we do?
And you're going to have to train them the same way the county would be training them. It's the same material.
Same material, but different instructor. Let's see how that works.
Okay.
I don't know the gentleman that's instructor here. I never met him. I just know that the rates of what he's teaching and how we can get passed is ridiculous. This is National Certified Registry of EMTs. When other instructors are having 100% pass rate, while ours only having a 58% pass rate. That's something that needs to be addressed also. So like I said, we're trying to do what we can. We're still recruiting new people coming in, new blood. They're all ready to go, gun ho. But when we send them to class and they try to test and they fail it miserably, they get discouraged. They've come off and just want to drive for us now. They will still want to help, but it's heartening for them as young people being enthusiastic and coming in, and we can't get them through class. We can't get them certified. So that's one of our responses to that. We're going to try to bring an outside instructor into our building and try to see if he can get these people passed and get them certified.
Well,
so thank you for your time. If you have any other questions for me. But I do ask if something like this is coming up again, please let the town council know so we can be aware and see where we can help out also. Thank you. Yes.
Has council been discussing or?
We didn't know anything about it.
Well, you must know the fail to respond rate.
We were never notified. I know the failed response rate. I did not realize that the failed response rate was as high as it was in November. And I think what has happened from what I've heard, we had several of our members that wants to go to the EMS symposium, which is in Norfolk. These people met with Mr. Ramsey and explained they were going to cancel because they didn't want to leave Glasgow without responders. And he told them to go, that it was covered. He'd make sure it was taken care of.
Well, of course, we would love for you to go, but the problem is the volunteers, there's so few that you don't have enough so that some can go and some can stay.
Right.
And that's
right. And that was addressed with Mr. Ramsey. And that was what he told them to go. It was covered. So now the information that's coming back is being used against us. When we reached out back in 2020 during COVID time, we had a lot of people that would not run. They had jobs and families that they could not be infected and go back. So they quit running. So we were down to 7 people that was actually running night calls. We were doing everything we could. Like I said, I understand your concern. I'm concerned about it myself. But if we can't get people trained, we're not costing you guys 1 penny to run. We're not asking for 1 penny. I do this because this is in my heart. I've been doing this for 20 some years and I don't want to quit. I want to be able to be there. I know that I've gotten older. I have to watch some of the calls that go on. I've got a handicapped grandson, but I still ran calls during COVID and was not able to see him to make sure the calls were being answered.
Yes, ma'am. And I thank you. Thank you for all of that hard work. Do you feel that you can't be a volunteer with career staff helping at night?
No, I
You
appreciate.
feel like you cannot?
I appreciate so much the staff being there during the day. We had these problems for many years. People they worked out of the area. We didn't have the coverage there anymore. So we appreciate that. But I'm asking, just let us work with these wonderful people here. I don't know if you're aware, but for years, the rescue squad and the fire department butt heads against everything. For them to come into our building last night with all their members in their trucks and walked in and said, what can we do to help you? It was like God had answered prayers that I've been saying for months. So I think with them stepping up and doing that, and I appreciate it so much. I even went over and talked to the fire department after our meeting last night, one-on-one with him. And he guaranteed that he would have people there to help us. They were going to be toned the same time we are. We can get the trucks out of there. So I guess I'm just asking to please give us some time. Watch how we turn this around, because it will be turned around. You give us a chance.
I think the question that Ms. Ayers was asking is, when the county was offering 24-hour assistance to make sure the calls were answered, what is the reason why you said no to that?
I wasn't there at that meeting, but what I can say is that we felt like as volunteers, this is our end of the county. This is where our hearts are, our families. We want to do everything we can to take care of the south end of this county. And we feel like accepting the 24/7, I don't know where that puts us. I don't know where we go from here as volunteers.
Excuse me, but correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't y'all request 24-hour service at one time?
When COVID was going on, when COVID started,
Okay.
we lost 4 members right off the bat. Their jobs would not let them run rescue squad calls because of COVID, and they were afraid to run rescue squad because of COVID. So that's when they were like, okay, what can we do? So we did come and talk to Nathan and asked Nathan to please help us out. We reached out to him for this. And when we came back with our meeting later, we all said, we had been talking to other representatives at the time, other people in the county. They wanted to step up and join us. So at that point, we thought, okay, we got 7 or 8 new people coming in here. We get them trained, we're good. So that's the reason that request was brought back. We worked all through COVID. We answered our calls all through COVID. We all had COVID because of the calls we were going on, but we had to work around that and get it done. So that's the only thing I can tell you why you were asked originally.
But again, going back to why turn down the offer of assistance?
We're not turning down the offer of assistance. We're turning down the offer of paid staff being in our building 24/7.
And my question is why? Yes.
Yes, she was in.
At the time of that meeting, when Chief Ramsey came to our building, we did not say no. What we told him was we could not give him an answer that night. For one, it all has to be taken to the membership for vote. Our next meeting is December 6th. And he was aware of that, sitting in that building that night.
He relayed that. He relayed
Okay.
that to us.
But we did not give a definite no. What we said was that all these other options were in play, and we wanted to be able to discuss it with the membership, go through all the options, and then give our answer to no or yes.
I understand if you may not want to give a direct answer, but just let me say this. The offer of assistance is not a takeover. It's not trying to put you out of business. It's not any of that. And I know it may be some hurt feelings and concern over that, but it is purely an offer of assistance with the standpoint of you still responding to calls. You still operating as an agency. You still have your place in this model. Okay. I just wanted to get that out there.
Right.
That it's not because I've heard some rumors about it. You just want to shut us down. You just want to take it over. That is not the case.
I
From a
understand.
board of supervisor standpoint, we would prefer to not have any paid staff and have all volunteers answer all the calls. The reason we're having this discussion is because the calls haven't been answered. Okay. So I just wanted to get that out there. You don't need to feel offended or
I'm not offended.
betrayed or mad at us. And you certainly don't need to feel that way with Chief Ramsey. Chief Ramsey is doing as instructed by the county administration, the Public Safety Committee, and the Board of Supervisors as a whole. Okay. So I just wanted to get that out just to clear the air a little bit with that.
And again, we're not holding against you. We know you're there to help. That's why we invited you, because you are, our representative, citizens as a squad, whatever, just to see y'all's viewpoint on things. And we did gain a lot of information from you, but you were not in attendance at that meeting that night and what Ramsey said to us when he lost his temper. So it comes across as a hostile takeover.
Yeah, well, I just want to ensure you that's not, I wasn't there and I apologize for not being there. And I'm going to try to get back to
Right.
one of your upcoming meetings. I'd like to stay in contact with you. I'm not on the Public Safety Committee, but you're in my area.
Right.
I mean, so I want to make sure I'm up to date on what's going on. And, for
And
the
this-
fire department members, yeah, I just want to say thank you. I mean, y'all do one heck of a job serving our area and our community. Your response rate is excellent. I see cars down there all the time. You're constantly doing training. For you to take on this opportunity to assist and work with the squad, thank you, because that's huge to our community. And ultimately, that's what a community is, right? It's volunteer, it's neighbors helping neighbors, right? So, and that's all we want is the calls to get answered effectively, efficiently, in a good response time. That's the only thing we're looking for.
And that's why we've all, like you said, there was differences in the past. You probably in the past being on the fire department. And that's why it's all put aside, because that's what it ultimately is. Everybody standing here, everybody back there, it's about the community. Even when someone was out sick, another volunteer came in. Granted, the truck was delayed, but it got out. We are trying hard on that. And with this new model, we are coming up with a way, because we know it's hard all over. Why use the county resources when we can do it? Why put out that chunk of change when we can do it? At least take that in consideration.
As far as your numbers, we're at, today we answered calls 416. We haven't been responded to.
Right. Yeah. Look at their own record and response. I know
Well, the
he
fire-
asked about.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And very thankful for that. We're not having the discussion about the fire department.
And that's what I'm saying is, we are, as far as the driver issues, we're gonna work that out. I live, I think it's 9 miles away from the station, so if it is my call night, and we all have a communication of a private channel, it's, hey,
Mhm.
can you grab the ambulance? I'll meet you on scene kind of thing.
Well,
It's-
I mean, keep in mind that what you're talking about is, somebody in, at the location instead of you coming from your home. You're already there. You got to be adding 8 minutes to the call.
That is part of that other plan that we want to present in January, we have ways that we are going to encourage people to stay at the building. We already have half of them staying at the building.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a partnership. I mean,
Right.
I know you have zero failure to respond. That's incredible. Awesome. Thank you. No doubt in my mind, they're going to get a driver there. You got to have an EMT or a medic or somebody on that truck to run for it to pull at the building.
And we,
That's the
And
question.
that's what we discussed
Right.
with them last night. We're willing to commit 110% if they're willing to commit 110%.
Well, can I make a suggestion? We have a meeting tomorrow and honestly, I would like to, Chief Ramsey should be part of this discussion. I feel that this has come together and he's just seeing this. So from my point of view, I want to talk to the chief about how viable he thinks this is. I rely on him. I respect him quite a bit. So I think that I'm not sure even on the public safety that I need that information before I move forward.
My opinion, it is my district, my service area. I think your meeting needs to happen, needs to incorporate Chief Ramsey and certainly members of the fire department, first aid crew, whatever that you deem necessary to work through this. You know, they got a meeting coming up December 6th. Will the plan, you gave us a preliminary type plan. You keep talking about finalizing it. Will it be finalized by then?
I don't know that it'll be completely finalized because we have to meet with the town. We have to meet with the other fire department, the state educator, those things. That's why we were asking to January.
The education piece I get.
Okay.
The running
plan-
calls.
Okay, yes,
Getting
that
trucks
part.
out of the building. That starts tonight, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
No matter where
I'm-
it's out there.
Well,
If it's in
I'm not,
natural bridge territory.
I don't
still
feel-
Need to be toned
I
with the rest.
I'm sorry. I don't feel, I feel that to have a different safety plan that we don't even understand and we have not, and the chief has just been informed of it, I feel a little uncomfortable. Am I the only one?
Well, I've got a couple of things, but questions for the chief before I state what I
Go
feel
ahead.
like. Chief Ramsey, I appreciate all you do. If we were to say, I'm just talking hypothetically, so don't shoot me before I finish. If we were to say we're gonna do 24/7 on paid staff on our own, we'd have to find the location, right? We'd have to make sure we had the equipment. And we'd have to make sure we could hire the staff to run it.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Is that possible to do before January?
No, sir, it's not possible.
Okay. What my suggestion, way I feel is, I don't want you to do a lot of needless work because I got faith that these people are going to do what they say, but I would, at least in the back of my mind, get things rolling. What if, where could we put this place? Where could we hire? I'm sure we're looking to hire people. We're probably shorthanded anyway, so start that going. I would say to the people of Glasgow, we're going to continue toning the way it was set up. And then when you come to us in January and say, look, this is what we've done, we've been successful, then we can consider going back to not having the dual tones. As far as the education, I'm no EMT, but I know a little bit about education. And I don't blame everything on instructors, although there are good instructors and bad instructors, but I think we've got a good instructor. I wouldn't hire another person. You guys got on the street experience, tutor these people, give them that extra help they need back at at the station house. They don't need to go through a whole new course. I believe they get to take the test up to 6 times. So we could work together with the instructor to find out people's weaknesses, and you could get them in a small group and tutor them, help them pass the test. Instead of saying, oh, let's bring in a new instructor, because that new instructor is going to have to go through the same amount of material very quickly. Whereas if you leave them where they are and provide a little tutoring and a little extra help, they could probably be successful. So my thing is, Chief Ramsey, without overburdening, get the wheels turning. As what if we have to, people of Glasgow, get the ball rolling, get people in there. And when you come back on the 6th, hopefully, and when you come back in January, it'll be a success and we can say, great for the town of Glasgow. Or you can come back and say, you know, we could use some extra paid help. Maybe you don't need a full staff of paid help. If you've got all these people, maybe it might be one paid person from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. All right. So there's a lot out there, but our number one concern right now is, and I believe you're going to start answering every call first tone tonight. You've already started. Chief Ramsey is going to start planning without committing, because like Mr. McDaniel said, we all benefit, including Chief Ramsey. I think he would agree, if you are successful. And our first goal is to help you be successful and to give you what you need to be successful. But there always comes a time when you're going to have to swallow your pride. If you need help, be specific. You can come back in January, you got a plan, but where are your holes? Where do you need the help? And then I think we all are willing to help you. So that's my thought, is we can't open a new place by January anyway. We're going to be dual toning. We're not going to concede that point yet. And you guys are going to turn this thing around, and you're going to lean on Chief Ramsey for help. But you know, if he lost his temper, we all lose our temper. I don't know. Some of you might have had me in school. Yeah, you've seen tempers lost. So it doesn't make us bad people.
Mr. Lawrence, I would just like to say, I think it was a very productive meeting, Gillette. I don't remember any tempers being lost during that. However, we did say that if we didn't accept the offer, then we would look other places like we've talked about now. So it's not new information. I think it's a productive meeting, as they always are. To echo that, just a couple of things in talking about what we did in the past, as Ms. Ayers alluded to, that we required, I believe it was 6 months worth of every calendar. At the time, it was Captain Wilcox that provided the calendars. There was a certain date set. I don't remember. I can go back and look in our notes, but that's kind of how we followed that to ensure that night coverage was being provided. I think before I'm pretty sure it was 6 months, but yeah.
So at this point, it appears that, you know, and forgive me if I summarize incorrectly here, but we're delaying the 24/7 thing. You're going to do due diligence, get some information, figure out what it would look like, how it would look, where it would look, everything like that. You can bring that back to us in January, along with the rescue squad and fire department maybe coming back to meet as well. Give us an update on how things are going, what's been successful, what hasn't. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'm hoping they come back in January and said, you know, we've answered all these calls. This is how we're doing it. We might need a little help here, or we're good. And Chief Ramsey will look at it and say, yeah, they're good. Or they might say, we need, you know, a couple of nights a week, we need an EMT paid because we can't fill that slot, but we got the drivers all covered, you know. So I guess you need one EMT and one driver. So if we're guaranteed drivers for 2 weeks at a time, then, you know, we might just have to spot fill EMTs rather than just say, okay, let's get rid of everything and put full crews in 24/7. But I mean, they're seem really willing and able and capable. And even if we wanted to, we couldn't say stop, because we can't start now and provide the cover to the people of Glasgow. We can't start in January. It'll be tough. But, in the meantime, Chief Ramsey can be, you got to look around, and not everyone wants a rescue squad in their backyard. And we don't know what spaces are available. We got 2 used pieces of equipment that, if we use them every day, won't last us very long. So, Glasgow, they got good equipment, they've got good intentions. I'd say let's wait to hear from them again in January.
Now, the fire department will be toned along with rescue squad, same initial tone, right? And it doesn't matter that it may be outside of Glasgow Fire Department's area. They're being toned to respond to Glasgow Rescue Squad's area, correct? Okay.
Well, is that correct?
This is the first time I'm
Well, that
hearing this.
Right.
So
That's
we,
our goal. That's our goal.
Well, that, right.
we can
It-
certainly-
That's our proposal.
we can certainly
Discuss that
look at that.
tomorrow.
Short staff as well. They don't have a lot of them there in that bridge area. And that's why we've already told them we're 100% on board with them. If there's a call for rescue free area, interstate, wherever it's going, we're going.
So that's your plan. And then tomorrow we will discuss your perspective. My worry is that this will ultimately put too much pressure on the fire departments, and therefore you will start having some trouble. We don't want you to have trouble answering your calls.
And they'll bring that to us if it is.
Right.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. If you guys say, oh my God, we bit off more than we chew, you'll step up and say, look, we can't. We need.
And that's where the whole 16 drivers come play. So it's not every day the same person. It's
Right.
Every 16 day, I know I'm on call. And it's,
So what I'm saying, and try to implement your plan. I would think, Ms. Williams, you'd probably be a better tutor helping these younger people who are having problems passing the test, and bring some stranger in from Timbuktu. And the instructor can coordinate with you, because the instructor is going to be able to tell you what they need, and they might feel more comfortable. But, all this can be worked out, and all they're asking for is 5 weeks. There's nothing we could get done in 5 weeks.
As long as the citizens are guaranteed coverage,
Well, we're not
then we
changing.
can 5 weeks. Yes.
We're not changing. There's 2 tones, right, Chief? Right now.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
and we're not changing that. We're gonna leave that in place. Just as extra backup that we need.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
This is in regard to my discussions with, and also your discussions, and mayors and chairs with the city managers. So to put it in a nutshell, Lexington is spending a lot of time in Buena Vista these days, responding to calls. And so Lexington is looking at the potential for Buena Vista to start sending Buena Vista a bill for those calls, because they don't have an agreement like they have with the county. So the ripple effect to that is if Buena Vista's in Glasgow's first due on a call, when their call goes off and they get a bill from Lexington, because Lexington is then therefore responding into Buena Vista. Buena Vista has rescue squad has said, I don't think that's fair if we're covering a county call and we're getting billed for a call we missed because we were in Glasgow while Lexington came and covered. So that billing hasn't started yet. I don't know if it will. They may work out something else. That's between Lexington and Buena Vista. But the question was asked is, how long is a fix going to take place to do this, to make sure calls are getting covered and Buena Vista isn't spending an inordinate amount of time in the Glasgow's first due. So that's one thing. So my question is what you all are implementing right now, is that, do you see that hitting the 8-minute mark most of the time? Okay, because I mean, even if it is a dual dispatch, it's not really a dual dispatch if you get out on the call, because they don't have to go. And I was made the point in one of our meetings too, that it's a dual dispatch first due, but if for whatever reason, like when you all were at symposium, if you knew you weren't going to get out, it's a dual dispatch so that we're not waiting 8 minutes when we know, we're pretty sure it's not going to get out. So why wait 8 minutes when they were going to go anyway? So that was the point. But I do need to talk with the city managers as well and try to give them some reassurances that we're working towards something. It sounds like we are.
And that's one of the reasons why it was so important that the safety committee has asked Chief Ramsey to help for us to come up with a solution right now. I mean, in the 30s, January seems like a long time because we're putting too much stress on our other agencies and it's creating these ripple effects. So this is not us, by golly, we're going to take over. This is us. We're in crisis, really. So I want you to understand that and not think the other, but we understand that from my point of view, I think it's still important for us to be considering what to do if we can't make all of this work. And I certainly hope that you all, if it doesn't, you will, as Mr. Lyons said, you will consider asking us for help so that we can give our citizens what they really want and what they need and what we think that they deserve. So, thank you.
Well, with the dual tones, a second due being toned on the initial tone. I mean, I would think that, Chief Ramsey, after a week, 10 days, you're going to see how this is working. If they're getting out, there may be a reason to stop that.
Mhm.
If it's not working, you can continue. I mean, I don't think it has to come back before us.
That's his call.
That's
No,
his job.
it's the chief's call.
Yeah. So if it's working and they're getting out, there would be good reason to stop toning second due on that first time. I've been on other boards, work in jobs and stuff, and even being a volunteer fireman, it's communication is hard, right? It's probably the hardest thing that we have to do. And, how things are interpreted or what is said to mean one thing, but interpreted as something else. Communication is just hard. And as we go through this next 5 to 6 weeks of figuring this out and trying to get it fixed and everything, communication, feelings are going to have to be put to the side. Okay. Communication between the squad, fire department, Chief Ramsey, Public Safety Committee, it's going to be keen to ensure that this works. And everybody's going to have to be on the same page and the same understanding. So you just got to keep that door at communications open to Chief Ramsey and to the Public Safety Committee. Okay. And that's everybody involved. Okay. Not to get on to a different subject, but the training concerns I have heard from other departments as well, some training concerns. We will, Public Safety Committee or whatnot will work with Chief Ramsey to address that on our end. Okay. If anything at all needs to be addressed, but we'll work on that. Okay. Is there anything else from the?
I have 2 questions. Chief Stomp. If you're providing a driver for the squad, are you going to count that as a response from the fire department or a call for the fire department? Even though the fire department's not responding?
Part-time stuff, you're gonna get 1-1, I promise you. You're gonna get 2 or 3, if not 4.
It's automatic training for us, but we're still gonna respond as a fire.
So the driver is gonna go.
And the driver's assigned to that crew all night.
Right.
That's their person's sole responsibility at night is to be on call for the rest. Even if we get another call, that person won't answer that call because they're with the rescue. Okay. But when we get towed, we're gonna have multiple members respond to the building
Why?
That's what we do. That's.
To respond to the rescue squad building or your fire?
Fire department.
Okay, all right.
You could need lifting assistance. You could need others.
That's what we're getting, if we need more manpower, lifting assistance. Anything like that, we're gonna have other members respond, because we don't want them to feel that if it's not their call night, that they don't have to show up. That's not how we feel. If tones drop, we're answering that call. It doesn't matter if it's our call night or not. You're gonna have multiple people show up.
Jolette, I
All will get answered.
Yes, sir.
feel like I'm being nosy and asked this question, but you said that this had to be taken before the town council?
Lisa was addressing that as a town council member that they had not heard as well, but we were discussing with her and other council members of what they can do to support this and assist in making this happen.
Okay,
But that meeting
what I
has not
thought-
occurred.
What I thought you were saying, that they'd have to approve it or something, and where I was really going is what control they have over y'all and not because not. All right, let's just end it that way. I can explain to you later. That's okay. All right.
But they are our town. They support
Sure,
us all
certainly.
these years. They should be involved in whatever happens down there.
I guess what I was thinking is they had more ownership of the equipment or the building or something like that. They had to approve.
No,
Okay,
town
yeah,
council.
okay.
No, the squad is a separate entity altogether,
Okay, okay.
but
Just
we're trying to
courtesy
come
to
up-
let them know. Yeah.
we're trying to come up with ways too, as far as town council goes, how the town can also help
Sure. Certainly.
make sure this happens.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I'm looking forward to hearing the report in January.
Any other questions you have of us? Fire department, rescue squad, Chief Ramsey?
No.
Everybody clear as mud? Thank everyone for attending. Thank you for your service. Thank you for volunteering to help our citizens. At the end of the day, as I said before, that's what this is all about. Getting calls answered in a timely manner, helping our citizens when they're in need. That's all it's about. And I appreciate each of you stepping up and giving of your time, your energy, your resources to see this through. Okay. And please, like I said, stay in communication. It's gonna be key for you to be able to update us. So the communication with all members, like I said, you gotta put feelings aside and we gotta work forward to resolve this issue. Okay.
Can't
Thank
go
y'all.
back. What's happens over. We got to move forward.
Thank you.
All right, don't think we have any appointments at this time. Let's see here.
Any additional comments or committee?
Well, I
reports?
was just gonna say, Ms. Ayers did agree to extend on the regional tourism board, so we can do that for next meeting. And will you check with, I believe you're up for VASAP and Mr. Funkhauser?
Yes, I've got a conflict every meeting with the jail commission at the same time. So Ashton has been sitting in for me. So we're going to request that maybe the board consider appointing Mr. Harrison to that board instead of me because I can't be there.
Okay. And then we have Community Service Board coming up in December as well for members to please.
And I'm gonna talk with Sheriff Funkhauser too, because he's in the same boat as I am. So I'm not exactly sure how that's gonna go. So we'll
But
get
maybe
that-
he can find a
Yeah, we'll
replacement.
get
for
that
himself.
squared away before the next meeting.
Sure. Is there a district for the community service board?
If you could check with Ms. Witten, she'll let you know members and where they're from.
All right, I will do.
She keeps everything top notch there. Any other comments, Mr. Lyons? You have anything for the board?
No, I've talked too long already.
Ms. Ayers, you have anything?
No.
Mr. Day?
Yes, sir.
All right.
We,
Go ahead, Ms. Sue.
well, I'm just getting ready to say, you can continue this meeting to a retreat on next Friday, the 9th. or we can advertise that meeting.
Do you have time to advertise it?
Mhm.
Yes, you have the time.
Yes. we do.
And for the public, we're not talking about this meeting. We're talking about, correct, not
a
the,
retreat.
yeah.
Okay. If it suits everybody, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting and we can advertise for the retreat.
So move.
And a second? Okay, Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Ms. Ayers?
Yes.
And Chair votes yes as well. Thank everyone for attending. Please be safe going home.
No.
I'm here to.
Oh, in your own head? Oh, I hate that.
I
Yes.
do, and I'm like,
I know
wonder
what
if
you're
he's,
talking
like, getting
about.
ready to bust out laughing, because both
No.
would happy.
No, I'm not.
He'd have busted out laughing.
I know exactly what you're talking
That's why I
about.
left earlier. It's like-
Ms. Huffman. Ms. Huffman.
I think you only hear it yourself.
Ms.
I
Huffman.
hope so.